This is the 4 Ways to Success podcast, a platform where 4 individuals come together to discuss their life journey. They speak about the mistakes that they made, the obstacles that they continue to overcome, but they also talk about the tools and the methods that they use to find their own level of success. If you are looking for better success in business, in relationships, spirituality, or anything in between, this podcast is for you. So to the aspiring entrepreneurs, to the career-driven professionals, to the people who simply want a more purposeful, filled life, this podcast is going to give you everything you need and more. The hosts of this podcast simply want to share because they want you to find your way to success.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the 4 Ways to Success podcast. I'm super pumped. This is the very first episode. It's been a long time coming in the words of the great Sam Cooke. It's been a long time coming. Because we met up at the Boss Weekend. Shout out to Kendall Ficklin, Boss Weekend, and we just vibed off rip. Right. You know what I mean? We just clicked, and just like the conversations we were having, we got to make sure that we don't lose contact, and eventually we need to put this out to the world. So, world, you're welcome. This is our very first one in a million, and let's get started. Before I get any further, let me just introduce my team. My name is Jeremiah. I'll be your host, otherwise known as Jay. And let me shoot it to my man, Jeff. How we doing, man?
Oh, man, super blessed. My name is Jeff A.D. Martin, but you can just call me Jeff. I am a resident of Toronto, Canada, and I am a motivator and inspirer. I want to see people grow. I want to see people do the best that they can. I want to see people become the best version of themselves. And I do that through authoring. I do that through speaking. I do that through law enforcement. I do it through a lot of different methods. Again, all for the purposes of just helping people to become the best version of them.
I love it. Kicking it over to my man, Bryant. What's going on, bro?
I love it. What's going on? So I'm Bryant Reed, Raleigh, North Carolina is where I reside. And it's going to sound like I'm mimicking Jeff here, but I'm just going to let you know, my purpose here on this earth and what I do is pretty much to add value to people and make people better people. So I'm a coach, I'm an author, I own T&D Fitness Coaching, but every single day I wake up, whatever the opportunity, whatever it looks like, my whole entire system is set up so where I'm adding value to other people. I feel like if you do that, you're going to be good. Everything's set. So that's me, B. Reed.
And last but certainly not least, the everything of the podcast, really. Shay, how we feeling?
Yeah, this is Shay Potter. I'm originally from Inglewood, California, but I currently reside in Virginia Beach. I am in the United States Army. We say whoa, where I'm from. Yep. And, I got 18 and a half years, so I'm looking to retire in about another year and a half. I am just big on those that are around me and just in general. I want people to be the best version of themselves. And I want that exude not only for myself, but those around me. So I am big on positivity and, like I said, becoming better people.
So my name is Jeremiah, like I said, but better known as Jay. I also reside in Virginia Beach, originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And currently I'm in pursuit of my PhD in clinical health psychology. I plan to help people transform their mind and their body, from the inside out. I personally struggle with health issues and they run rampant in my family. So since I've been able to overcome that, I think that has been a trigger for me to give back to other people. And like everybody else has so eloquently stated, I want to see the best people be the best version of themselves. You know what I mean? And of course, we sound like broken records people, but that's one of the reasons why we click so well, because we all are, while we're in different avenues, we have the same mindset. You know what I mean? We're going after the same thing ultimately, which is to leave our mark and help other people do the exact same thing, basically. So moving forward, the topic that we want to hit on today is really knowing who you are, right? For example, I just want to give a quick little story a lot of people come to me when they're trying to learn how to, lose weight, take control of their health. They ask me the same question. Like, Jay, what's the most important thing you should be doing? And I know the answer that they're looking for. They're looking for, you should be running 3 miles a day. You should be cutting out carbs. You need to be in a caloric deficit, whatever the case may be, right? They're looking for those specific answers. But the same thing that I always say to people is the first thing you need to do is know what you want, right? And that leads us into the topic of today, because in order to know what you want, you first have to know who you are, right? You can't necessarily know what you want if you don't know you, right? So that's why we want to hit on this today, y'all. Just in every area, personal life, business life, relationships, whatever the case may be, you have to know yourself before you enter into it, because if not, you're going to compromise, right? So I kind of gave a quick little synopsis as to what that means to me. But Brian, I want to ask your opinion. What does knowing who you are mean to you specifically?
It's so important because it literally drives everything, right? Knowing who I am. And I just remember a situation or a time when I was younger and I struggled with this. And I struggled with it because I would look around and I would see, images of what I thought I was supposed to be. And my parents telling me what they thought I was supposed to be. And my friends telling me what they thought I was supposed to, you know what I mean? And that you can keep beating yourself up over that same thing. But it literally took me till I was almost 27, 28, and 32 now. But it took me that long to say, Bryant, there have been hints of who you are. Like, let's put it together. Let's just truly get deep into who you are so you can go out and become and motivate and inspire people to make the changes in their life. And it took a lot for me to sit down and like, okay, what is your value system? What do you value? Like, what makes you angry? Like, what lights you up and makes you happy? Like, you know what I mean? So you're comfortable enough to talk about those things and not be scared, and you're not backing away from it. And you're comfortable enough to stand in front of people and be like, yo, like, this is who I am. And I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you don't, what it is? Like, if you rock with me or if you don't rock with me, there's one thing that you're going to know about me, and that's I'm going to be me. That's simple as that. So I think it's important because it drives everything that I do, literally everything that I do.
I like what you said about when you know yourself, there's a certain level of comfort, right? Because if you don't know who you are and you're so indecisive as to what people are telling you should be, then there is no rest, there is no joy, there's no peace, because there's inner turmoil that's constantly going on because you don't know who you are. So there's a certain level of comfort, and that's a nugget, people. I need y'all to hear that. There's a certain level of comfort that comes with knowing who you are. Wow. Jeff, you got anything to add on that?
Yeah, there's a quote that says, many of us are born as originals, but we often die as duplicates. And what that means is that when we come on this earth, we see what other people are doing and we try to copy what they're doing. Yep. And, I'm sure just looking at all of you in terms of the things that you are doing, I imagine there's been people who have come along and said, oh, I love what you do. Can you teach me what you do? And there's nothing wrong with seeing somebody walking in the path that you would like to walk in. But at some point in time, you have to develop your own way of doing it, right? Whether you want to be that author and there's a certain author that you absolutely love, and you might kind of look at their style and really enjoy the way they do it. But ultimately, you have to find your own style, right? We were born alone. Chances are we're going to die alone. And we have to be able to find that path along our journey to figure out who we are as an individual. Because when it comes down to it, again, that we are one person. And so I believe that each and every one of us has a gift that we need to give to the world. I think it's our responsibility to give it to the world. And every day that you try to act like someone else, or every day that you shy away from it, you don't give the world your gift, that piece of you that can make this world better. And so I think it's so important, that we find out who we are and we step into our own greatness so we can now take that gift, that piece of us, and give it to this world, make this world better, make the next generation better, make our communities better, because you know who you are. You know who you are as an individual, and you can take that and, again, better your circumstances and the circumstances of people who are around.
Right.
I love it.
It's not as easy as most people might think. It's like, are you just going to sit here and it's just going to come to you like, okay, this is who I am? Like, you're going to have to do some deep work on yourself to figure that out. And I know for me, like, I went through so many phases and like trying to be a gangster. Like, bro, you're not a gangster. Like, you legitimately with cows and pigs,
Straight
and
thugger.
I had never seen a gun until I joined the military. So like, why are you trying to emulate? And it just seemed off. You always know when you're not being yourself, and it always goes back to you're watching what everybody else is doing, and that's what's getting attention. That's what's getting popularity. But until you're never gonna be who you're supposed to be until you figure out who you are, and it just keeps going back to that same phrase. But, yeah, your boy was being a gangster. Like,
that is hilarious, bro.
You still got the band.
Did you have a street name? You had a street name?
You don't even want to know, because I had a rap name. And it was calling my rap name was B. Reed. And I used to legitimately like wear a do-rag, right, and tie it up like a pony, just like 50 Cent. I was trying to be 50 Cent, like legitimate. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, no.
I mean,
everybody went,
I was like,
I wanted to be a
disrespecting teachers and just like, for what? Like, you're not being who you are, and everybody can see through that. It's like, bro, you are not hard. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to talk a certain way. You don't have to dress a certain way. But especially kids. But as we move into adulthood, we just feel like in order to be accepted amongst our community or amongst people who we want to be accepted amongst, we have to act a certain way or be a certain way. And my man, like, I do not care now. Like, I will dress the way I want. I listen to the music I want. I will talk. My vernacular is what it is. Like, I'm not going to change because I'm so comfortable in my space with what I do and what I bring to the world. It's no point in me, going back to 50 Cent. There's no point in me going back to that.
50 Cent. B. Reed. I love it.
It's a YouTube video out there somewhere, but I'm trying to find it.
Oh my God.
It's hilarious.
I'm looking for that tonight.
We gonna do a Shay. You go get on that. We gotta find that.
New album coming.
New album coming. But Shay, I definitely want to get your opinion on it. But I want to make sure that the audience heard something that Jeff said. I think is so crucial. Is that you can't really give what you're supposed to be giving to the world if you don't really know who you are, right? And that doesn't mean, when I say the world, I think a lot of people think large scale, right? Your world could be your spouse. Your world could be your children. Your world could be your employees if you're in a managerial role. You know what I mean? Your world could be you. And you can't really give what you're supposed to be giving if you don't know who you are. So that's just like, I love that. I just want to make sure that they heard what you said, because that's so crucial into what we're all on a mission to do, which is help people be the best version of themselves. But if you don't know yourself, how can you become that best version, right? But Shay, I definitely want to hear your opinion on what you think, why it's important to know who you are.
So, as you guys know, the audience doesn't know, but for the last 45 days, I've been doing some deep introspection and asking myself some tough questions. One, to actually find out who I am, right? And, I thought, okay, I'm 41. I was pretty confident who I thought I was. But I came to a conclusion that my journey may reflect some people, may not. But I came to the realization that I think we always knew who we were when we were young, right? When I say young, I mean when you're 5, 6, and you're just playing in life, right? A lot of the echoes and the focus from your peers, from your family, from the world, it hasn't started yet. You're not starting to get that pushback of, hey, be this way. No, say it this way. No, you want to look like this, right? Because you're just young, and everyone around you is young, and everyone is just being who they were designed to be, right? And then somewhere along that trail, the changes start happening, right? Whether you're trying to please your parents, whether you're trying to please your schoolmates because you want to be a part of, that crowd, and you start going through this turmoil where you're starting to stretch yourself. You're starting to try to be these things, like Bryant, you said, be the gangster, right? Because you're trying to reflect what you see, and it's like you're running away inherently from who you were designed to be. And then, now I'm realizing at 41, who I am is still that child that I ran away from for so long. And so now you're almost having to try to crawl back just to get to what I call that sacred part of our lives where we were almost left untouched, and really start to say, hey, what did you like? What did you, think of yourself? And it's a very kind of surprising, exercise and realizing that was probably the period where I knew myself best, before the world, before the parents, before school and life got in the way, and now it's like I'm fighting to sort of get back there. Yeah. And capture who that person, the essence of who that person is, recognize I'm not 7 anymore, but, just kind of the essence of who that was, and then take that forward. So in that light, I think we inherently know who we are. We just lose touch over time, and then sometimes we have to stop where we are, take a look back, and reach for that younger version of ourselves, which will then kind of reveal who we inherently are, and then move forward, right? Because you got to grow up. You got to kind of apply that to where you are now, and go forth.
Question. So, question I want to ask real quick: what made you? Because at 41, right? You could have easily said, "I'm just gonna continue what I'm doing." Right? You know what I mean? Like some people get to a certain age and they're just like, it's like the whole concept of you get to a certain point in your life and you just stay there. It's just, it's easier to stay in the routine of what I've been doing. So what was the trigger? What was the moment? What was the key that made you say, you know what, let me stop living what I've been living and let me start living true to me? You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
It's like who's stuck in their ways. They're like, it's easier to just be here as opposed to do what needs to be done to get to where they want to be, in whatever aspect of life.
Yeah. So I speak in a lot of analogies because that's what makes sense to me. I'm also a Greek myth fan. There's a Greek person or a mythical creature called Sisyphus. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him, but he was.
I have no idea.
He was a person that
vanished. No idea what Sisyphus is.
He was the person that was banished, and his lot in life was to push this big, heavy rock up this hill. And he will push and push and push and push and get right to near the peak, and that rock will roll back down the hill. And so he was just in this eternity of constantly pushing this rock, thinking I'm getting closer. And then all of a sudden he loses a rock and he has to go back to the base of the mountain and start all over again. And that was going to be his lot in life, right? I think a lot of us are Sisyphus, right? And the very act of pushing a rock is just daily work. You think you're making progress, but then you get to a certain point where that rock falls back down. Guess what? You got to go back to the base of the hill, right? For me, I had to ask myself a question. Why can't I get past that point where the rock falls back down so I can get to the top of this hilltop? And that top of the hilltop was the very essence of success, the very essence of conquering who I am and being the person that I saw in my head to be. But I couldn't get there. I can get close, right? Mm-hmm. But I kept losing this rock. And that rock for me signified these feelings, these internal struggles, these things that I kept carrying along that, I figured out a way to get bigger and stronger to just push it. But I would get to a certain point where I would lose my footing or I didn't have the strength anymore to carry it. And so that question is, what is this rock? Why do I have to push this thing up? And why do I keep losing place of it? And then coming to the realization that I have to get rid of it in order to get to the top of that hill. But in getting rid of it, that meant that I had to face who I was. I had to go back and question who I thought I was, and question these things, right? And that kind of brought on why I'm going into this deep journey and finding out who I am. But I really believe that if I can either minimize or get rid of that rock, I can finally get to that top and be the person that I was destined to be. And that may take a while, that's fine, but I think I'm doing that work to do that. And I think for a lot of us, we get in that like you say, you just sort of get in that little hamster wheel where you just, hey, I'm moving, I'm doing some type of work, I'm okay with where I am, but you're never really making that progress. It's kind of like the constant 2 steps forward, 2 steps back type deal. So for me, in finding out who I am, being comfortable in who I am, mean that I had to break apart that rock, figure what it is, get rid of it, so that I can finally get to the top of my mountain.
Love it.
I love it. I love it. That's good. That's good. And that goes into the next, like just like kind of moving forward with the podcast, how we basically steps that we've taken personally to identify who we are, right? And Jeff, I want to ask you real quick, like, what is, if you can give 1 or 2 things that you specifically did as an individual to help you identify who you were, and whatever point of life, I'm not exactly sure when you came into that self-realization, that you can give to the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to be the guy known as starting my talks with quotes, but I got another quote. What we're saying here, right? I promise I won't be that guy, I promise. But there's a quote that says, the pain of wanting change has to be greater than the pain of staying the same. And so basically what that speaks to is that when we're in a circumstance that we feel that we're stuck in, we have to feel that we want change. And that change, that feeling of change has got to be greater than the circumstance you're stuck in. Otherwise, you will remain stuck in that situation. And for me, as I go forward in my life, I look back on things that I've been through, and the pain of that has propelled me to where I am today. And oftentimes when you hear people speak, they say, you know, I want this for my life, I want that for my life. And I wanted the same thing. But I could tell you, of course, it's hard. You all can speak about the path that you're taking. Jay, you're working on becoming a doctor. Like, that's hard. The studying is going to be hard. The time management is going to be hard, right? The things I've been through are hard. However, what's harder for me is being homeless, right? There's 2 times in my life that me and my family were homeless, right? What's harder for me is losing a loved one to gun violence, right? Mm-hmm. So if either path is going to be hard, then I'm going to choose a path that's going to give me the reward, right? Life is going to be difficult. We're all going to have challenges. We're all going to have things. We face obstacles. However, we can stay there and wallow in that, or we can use that to push us and propel us forward. And so I can say where I am now, and I definitely have so many more steps to go. I'm content with where I am. However, I have so many big goals that I'm working towards in terms of being blessed with the opportunity to now, I can say this officially, jump on planes, be hired and jump on planes to speak away from my home, right? Like, I can officially say that now. Right. That's happened because the pain that I initially had and the problems I was facing, I knew I had to get out of it. And so I want to make changes in my finances. I want to make changes in my household, to be a better father for my children, to be a better husband for my wife. And all that means is that I need to push myself forward, as difficult as that is. Getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning to hit the gym, or to get in a workout, or to work on a talk, or work on another chapter of my book. Whatever it is, it's painful. Nobody wants to get up at that time in the morning, but it's even more painful to sit back and to be in that difficult circumstance. And so for me, that's what's pushed me forward over the years, is really wanting to move away from the difficulties that I've been through and create a new life, not just for me, but for my family. I got 3 young boys, and I know it's been given to me, the ability to be their father. And I know that with that responsibility means that I need to lay a certain path. So I got to teach them certain things that I didn't have, that's going to propel them forward when they become men. And so that's what really drives me.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, man. And what I found, man, is that when you fire. We can end the podcast right there. But, that was the episode, ladies and gentlemen.
I legitimately get goosebumps sometimes just hearing you say stuff. I just sit back and I just look out to people who like,
just the whole package. What I found is that when you do start that journey, right, of finding out who you are, and you actually start applying that information and you start living that life, it's difficult to go backwards. You know what I mean? It's because you're so exposed to this new world. Like, I think T.D. Jakes said something about get messed up for the old. Like, you just so infatuated with the new and opportunities. So to go backwards is like you said, it's more painful to go back to that place. It's just, it's too painful after being exposed to what can be, right? And I know, Brian, you itching to add on to that, so I'm gonna go ahead and come to you, bro.
Hold on.
What's one, like I said, same question, man. What's one or two things that you were able to do specifically that you could share with them?
Legit. So I used to be one of those people that I let life kind of dictate to me, as opposed to the other way around. I used to sit back and I used to say, okay, you know, I had a disease growing up as a kid called Crohn's disease, and I went through that. And I, you know, had substance abuse issues, right? And all these different things that I went through in my life. And that used to be my narrative and my story. And that kept me blinded from the person that I actually am, right? So I know I'm not that person. I know I've been through that pain. I know that I've grown from that pain. So why is that the first thing you lead with every time you go out and tell somebody who you are or communicate with people? Why is that? Like, you're so much more than that. And so when I started dictating literally willing myself and changing myself so people could see who I truly am. Like, I'm this person that wants to make you laugh, and I want to make you smile, and I want to add value to your life. That's who I am. I'm not that kid who was, you know, had substance abuse issues, right? I'm not that kid who had that addiction to those things. And I'm not the person who was homeless, living in his car and had no money to his name and was stealing things. I'm not that person. Those are just temporary things. And so I don't lead with those things anymore because I'm not that person. So too many times people let life dictate and throw the punches at you. And you just sit back and you say, okay, that's it. Like, that's my life. That's who I am, right? That becomes your story. That becomes who you are. That's not me. And so I've decided at some point, and I can't necessarily put my finger on it, but at some point I was like, yo, I'm better than this. I'm not going to continue to let these things dictate who I am. I'm going to change. I'm going to be the best version of myself so I can go out and show other people, like, you can do the same thing. And that's something that I was able to do, is stop being so passive about it and like being, okay, I'm going to be intentional, aggressive. Everything I do every single year is going to be bigger than last year. And I'm just going to keep moving this thing forward so other people can see, like, yo, he's been through a lot. And I write about it in my book, but I've been through a lot. Things that you would sit back and you would say, whoa, but we've all been there. You just can't let that be your story. You can't let that dictate you becoming the best version of yourself. So that's kind of where I am with it.
I love it, man. You chose what defines you. You know what I mean? And it's easy to allow, when all you see is problems, it's easy to look at your life and say, well, my life is problematic. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily the case. You know what I mean? Everybody has those revolving situations, but you just looked at what defines Bryant as an individual, and it's not the homelessness. You know what I mean? It's not what I face.
And we all know those people, right? Who have been dealt, quote unquote, a bad hand in life. And then that's all they talk about. That's all they sit in it. They sleep in it. They wake up in it. They put it on. And the first thing that you hear about how, you know, crappy their life is and how I have been through it. Jeff, you've been through it. Jay, you've been through it. Shay, you've been through it. But that's not what defines either of us. That's why we connect, and that's why we're able to go out and be the best version of ourselves and to give that to other people, because we're not staying in that story. I don't wear that. That's not the coat I put on in the morning. I put the smile on in the morning. I put the motivation on in the morning. I put the fitness on in the morning. I put the husband on, and I put the father on, you know, all these different things. That's who I am. I'm not that other person. Right. That other person was just going through things so that he could be the best version of himself today. But that's not who I am. I went through those struggles. So today I can say I have the gym. Been married 3 years. I have like all these different things. I think it kind of comes down to do you believe that every person on this earth should be living their best life, like living their truth and living in, you know, the best version of themselves? Are you one of those that believes that? Or are you one of those that believe that, okay, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. This is my life. And I just don't believe that. Like, I just believe there's more. And for every one of us, like every one of us, there's more for us. So why am I going to stay in that negativity? Like, for what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why are we going to stay there when there's more for us? Like, there's more. So let's go get more. Let's do more. Let's be more. I can't say it any other way than that.
Yeah. You know, we always have choices. No matter what it is that we're going through in life, we always have choices. And a part of my story, you know, as we unfold these podcasts, you'll hear more and more about everybody's story. But a part of my story is I'm an investigator, a police investigator, and I work at this point in time in the Special Victims Unit, like the TV show, right?
Dum 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 bum 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 bum.
Immediately, that's the song that came to my head immediately.
My man, no stable.
I can show you so many examples of people who have been through some real difficult circumstances and they've been able to turn around. Brian, you just talked about, substance abuse, and I can't wait for your story. But again, here you are making a difference after going through that. There's a lot of people out there who are going through substance abuse issues who have gone through them and they can't recover. Right. And here you are on this podcast, opening up your gym, making a difference. Like it comes down to our decisions. In the end, when something happens to us, what are we going to take away and how are we going to use that to improve not just our lives, but the lives of people around us?
Definitely, man. I love that's powerful, man. I always tell people the problem isn't the problem. You know what I mean? The problem is your perspective of the problem. It's the way you see it. You know what I mean? Because depending on how you see it, that's what will determine whether or not you attack it or you run from it. So and that's similar to my story as well. Like growing up in Milwaukee, I used to look at people and say, well, not everybody's supposed to be popular, because I wasn't, what I mean? Not everybody's supposed to, when everybody around me had a car, not everybody's supposed to be driving. Maybe some people are supposed to be on the bus, you know what I mean? Not, me, like I was overweight. I dealt with obesity. So not everybody's supposed to be fit. Not everybody's supposed to have the 6-packs. It wasn't until, this is the thing that I did that I want to share with people. It wasn't until I took personal responsibility. You know what I mean? Like I just took ownership and it's just like, it's going to happen, Jay. You got to make it happen. Ain't nobody coming to save you. There's no fairy godmother. You don't get no glass slipper. And you're not, you know what I mean? You would do it anyway. So Cinderella's story ain't going to work. So it's just not going to happen. You got to take personal responsibility. And we were talking about this previously. Let go of, because it wasn't my fault that I was born with health issues. It wasn't my fault I was born into an environment that promoted obesity. But it is my responsibility. If I want to change that, I got to do what I got to do to make it happen. Those are 4 ways, y'all. No pun intended. 4 ways to success. Those are 4 ways. Ways that you can apply to your life, and maybe you apply them at different points. You know what I mean? To your journey of first getting to know yourself, because it's crucial to anything that you're going after. It's crucial to not just success in business, but success in marriage, success in parenthood, success in loving yourself. You know what I mean? In any area of your life, you have to know who you are so that you can, one, be comfortable in yourself, because you spend more time with you than anybody else in the world. You know what I mean? So, and no point in your life and your journey that it's too late to start the process, right? So yeah, take ownership. Let's make it happen, y'all.
That goes back to the topic of this podcast, is knowing who you are. Like, once you know who you are, like, what you're going to respond to. I know, like, there's certain things that are not me, so I'm not going to respond to it. It's not going to affect my life. I'm going to move on from it. But if you can spend a lot of time playing this game over what you think society is telling you, like, if you got to have that nice car, like, that's just not, I don't care. I don't value that. That's not me. Or whatever else, society is saying you should do, or how you should dress and how you should talk. But at the end of the day, I don't respond to that because it's not me. So it goes back to the very topic of what we started this on, is knowing who you are. And once you know who you are, you can strategically put things in your life, strategically say yes and no to the things you need to the next level that you want to get to. But it's only after you know who you are. And so it goes back to breaking that down and stripping all those layers, or stripping the parents away from it, and your, friends and society. You got to go into a room, and every single day you got to look and you got to say, okay, what can I learn about myself? What makes me happy? What makes me angry? What motivates me? What lights me on fire? What do I want to do with my life? Like, until you start stripping away those layers and start figuring that out, you're always going to go after that low-hanging fruit, or that thing that society is telling you that you should value, when it might not be the thing that you actually value. And you run that race, that's a lonely race, because you're not being yourself. You're not being yourself.
Cut the world off.
Facts.
Literally. Cut social media off. Cut your friends off. Cut your parents off. Literally, like you said, go into a room alone and ask yourself these hard but necessary questions. What do I like to do? Jeremiah, as an individual, what do I like? Not what somebody told me. What do I like? What don't I like? what do I want to do with my life? What don't I want to do? Ask yourself these questions and just answer them to the best of your abilities. There's no wrong answer other than a lie. The only wrong answer is a lie. You know what I mean? If you want it, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's you. So I think that's one thing that we all have done that we didn't necessarily hit on, is that we all took some time to ourselves. Like we all were just like alone when we had this conversation. We were alone when we made this decision. You know what I mean? Because nobody can really make it for us. So I definitely cut the world off and ask yourself those questions.
And it's not going to happen overnight, if I can jump in. It won't happen overnight. But at the same time, I think you have to be conscious about trying to find it. Don't put pressure on yourself, because again, it's not going to happen that quickly for a lot. Some people will. Some people it takes months. Some people it takes years. But you have to be conscious about trying to find it. Because as Brian said before, if you are letting the world just kind of take you wherever it takes you, right? I use the analogy of dropping a leaf into a river. Wherever the river goes, a leaf goes. A leaf doesn't have any say. And so, if you don't consciously think about who you are and what you want to achieve in this world, then you're going to be that leaf in that river. Wherever the river goes, the leaf is going to go. Yeah. And so, you just have to be consciously aware of trying to find it. And I guarantee you will. It'll find you. Eventually, at some point, you'll realize who you are, what your purpose is, and what you feel you need to accomplish in this world while you're here.
Or somebody will come into your life and help you on that evolution into your better you.
100%.
Get something will click. If you are looking for it, if you're actively trying to change, something will align and everything will work it out. But it's like he said, it's not going to happen overnight. None of this has happened overnight. None of it. And we're nowhere close to where I want to be. So by no means am I saying that. I'm just saying, like, not going to happen overnight.
100%. 100%. Don't be the leaf, be the river, people. Message. But that's what we have for you today. As always, as we said numerous times throughout the podcast, we just want to help you become the best version of yourself as we aspire to be the best version of ourselves. This part of the show, we're going to share a little bit of information as to how you can connect with us outside of the podcast. Take it away, Shay. I'm going to come to you and I'm going to go around the whole gambit. How can people find you and link up with you outside of the podcast?
Most certainly. On both IG and Facebook, Shayla, SHAYLA.D as in Delta.Potter. And I also have an audiobook coming out in June 2020, so look out for that. It speaks on gender identity. And so I think it's going to be quite a ride for listeners in that topic. And those families who have children or family members in the LGBTQ community that are struggling with gender identity. So check it out.
B.read. Read.
B.read.
My bad.
That's going in there.
That's why I can't tell everybody everything. And I shouldn't have said, you can't tell everybody everything. I've been told the whole world now. Golly. Yeah, so I'm just on Facebook, so you can look me up at Bryant Reed. Every single day, I'm putting out something, whether it's something I took the time to write, whether it's a quote, whether it's a video. Every single day, that's what I do. And then Coach Bryant Reed on YouTube. I'm not on Instagram, but eventually I probably will get back on Instagram. But I've got a book called Tested, Never Defeated. So it's going to take you through some of my trials and tribulations of my life in order to get me to a certain point in my life. And then I'm working on book number 2, where I'm going to break down some steps on how to actually make change in your life. So Tested, Never Defeated is my coaching gym, my brand, my book, everything about me. And then just Bryant Reed on Facebook. Come check me out.
Love it. What you got for us, Jeff?
Yes, sir. You can find me at Jeff A.D. Martin, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can just Google me, Jeff A.D. Martin. Check out my website as well. And in terms of, my products, I got a children's book called Brothers from the Six, Sisters from the Six, Role Models of My Community. And also I have a brand new book that just dropped in January of 2020 called New Me. It's myself and 9 other men, and we came together to talk about situations we've been through, how we fell down, but most importantly, how we were able to get back up. And so, if you're looking for me, you know where to find.
Gotcha. I love it. My man, Jeff Big Time, he said, you can Google me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Bing, Yahoo.
The computer sitting here. I was actually about to Google you too.
Right.
I'm about to do it right now.
Don't worry,
You gotta
man.
make sure you put.
Big
You gotta make sure
time.
you put the AD. You can't just Google Jeff Martin. You gotta put the Jeff AD Martin. So
Right.
Google that, you'll find.
I got you.
Likewise, yo. Well, I'm not likewise. Like you can't Google me, but on Facebook and IG, yeah. On Facebook it's Jeremiah Days. And on IG it's JAY_Days. Likewise, just sharing positivity, sharing motivation, and just trying to make you be the best version of yourself.
So unfortunately, we have come to the end of this week's episode of 4 Ways to Success podcast. But guess what? The conversation does not have to end here. If you have any comments, any questions, if you have a topic that you would love us to cover, then do me a favor, hit us up. The information is in the show notes. You can follow all 4 of us on social media because we are all doing our best to make this world a better place. And one last thing, we would love for you to hit that like button, to hit that subscribe button, to leave a 5-star rating and review, because this allows us to get the message out to others who could use this information, because we want to see you and everybody find their own way to success. Much love.